I finally started to watch One Piece, and after completing the East Blue Saga, I can honestly say this is currently my favorite anime. In this particular video, I wanted to focus on the first 3 arcs of the East Blue Saga. I wanted to save the other arcs for their own videos because these 3 are much shorter. So if you want to see my thoughts on those arcs, please like the video and subscribe for more. But the way I look at these first 3 arcs of the East Blue Saga is they've really piqued my interest, while the remaining arcs are what absolutely sold me on the series. To begin with, we start with the Romance Dawn arc, which I thought was a great introduction to the show. I particularly love the way that they introduced Luffy. You see him first burst through a barrel. He doesn't seem to care about the impending danger in front of him of these pirates that are clearly not happy with him. He just wants to find his next meal, but he quickly shares his motivations. He wants to become king of the pirates. I love the fact that he is so open and honest about his goals and how supremely confident he is in achieving his goals. I like the way that they use this character Kobe, because Kobe can be a little annoying with how cowardly he is at times, but it definitely shows a nice contrast between the 2 characters. It helps amplify Luffy's characteristics when you see the polar opposite of him. Luffy is supremely confident. On the other hand, you have Kobe, a character who's not happy with the life they're currently living. You see throughout this episode, Luffy's characteristics start to rub off on Kobe, which I think is foreshadowing just how infectious Luffy is as a character and also how good he'll be as a leader. He might not be the brightest character, but he leads by example. He is so confident and so steadfast in what he wants that it rubs off on other people around him. We get to see Luffy's rubber powers in action. I was a little concerned that he might have been overpowered. That's not the case. Quickly you learn Luffy runs into some pretty good adversaries, and I imagine he'll keep running into stronger and stronger opponents, and he'll lose some of these fights. But learning that he became a rubber man by consuming a devil fruit, I instantly wondered, where did he find this devil fruit? Was it by accident? Did he know what he was consuming? I wonder what other devil fruits are out there, how many, things like that, which I know will come with time, so I don't want them to be spoiled, but it definitely opened up a lot of questions. Next, we arrive at the Marine base and we're introduced to pirate hunter Zoro. You could just feel what a presence this character has. But one of the things I loved about the trip to the Marine base is it challenged a lot of the preconceptions of the world. It's a very gray world. It's not black and white. It's not like the Marines are the good guys or the bad guys and the pirates are the good or the bad guys. They're a bit of both. You get good and bad guys on both sides, where you have the Marines on the one hand supposed to be the beacon of justice, yet they operate like criminals at this particular base, while on the other hand you have this bounty hunter who's supposed to be a dishonorable guy, but he's probably the most honorable person there. And this evil pirate is actually the guy who saves the people at the base from this tyrannical Captain Morgan. But Luffy of course tries to recruit Zoro. I love the way he goes about it, where he's basically like, I'm gonna become king of the pirates, I need a good swordsman, you're joining the crew. Zoro has some pushback for sure, but eventually he gives in. Seeing the 2 team up and fight Axe Hand Morgan together was a very satisfying moment, getting to see Zoro in action with that 3 sword style. But after they liberate the base, I love the fact that Luffy actually helps his friend Kobe become a Marine. Despite the fact that Marines are of course the enemy to the pirates, their 2 desires and their 2 goals will probably clash at some point. I'm curious how Kobe will return, if he'll return. Maybe he'll become a big antagonist way down the line when Luffy is close to becoming the Pirate King, or is the Pirate King, and maybe Kobe on the other hand has risen to the top of the Marines. I love the fact that Luffy is basically like, I don't care that this might work against me, you're my friend, I'm gonna help you out. Anyway, I thought that this was a great introductory arc. Next was the Orange Town arc. I do love that we got to see more of Luffy's backstory. We got to see the pirate Shanks, who inspired Luffy to become king of the pirates. He was of course the one who gave him the straw hat and made Luffy promise that he'll return the hat when he becomes a big-time pirate. Now, I was a little surprised to see how Luffy consumed the devil fruit. It was basically totally by accident. I do wonder if Luffy would have at some point consumed the devil fruit if he knew what it was, or if he would have just stayed away from them entirely. I think it helps to have a devil fruit in his quest to become king of the pirates, but I'm really not sure if he would have eventually set out to find one or not. I do like that there is a cost to using the devil fruit, that you lose your ability to swim, almost like nature or the ocean itself rebels against the user. But later on, Shanks has to save Luffy, and I don't know much about Shanks, but I did find it interesting how he was able to scare away a sea monster with just a look. That was pretty impressive, but again, again, he seems like such a mysterious character at this point. Next, we return to present day where Luffy arrives at Orange Town and he meets the thief Nami. And looking back, especially after Arlong Park and learning more about Nami, my initial impression of her was definitely wrong. She seemed like an incredibly selfish person who was only interested in her well-being and getting as much gold as possible. Now, while she certainly does love gold, you could see throughout the whole arc that at moments she showed some concern for Zoro and Luffy despite not knowing them well. She tried to play it off like she doesn't care that much about them, but you could tell that she was definitely interested in their well-being. And Luffy challenged her view that all pirates are bad because Luffy is a very interesting character. And we run into the first Devil Fruit opponent of the series, who really gives Luffy his first major challenge. Now, this was Buggy the Clown. I thought Buggy was a okay villain. He wasn't the greatest, but he wasn't bad either. He was a little bit of comedic relief, but he certainly gave Luffy a big challenge, and Luffy was eventually able to beat him. But there was an interesting moment during their fight where he damaged Luffy's straw hat, and you saw a completely different side of Luffy, which I guess shows when things are really important, this carefree character becomes very serious. But after defeating Buggy and liberating the town, Nami agrees to tag along with their crew, but you can kind of tell at this point she's not entirely sold on the crew. And of course she won't be until after Arlong Park. But I love that each of the crew members brings a slightly different dynamic to the team, and they all have their unique jobs. Of course, Nami is the navigator, Zoro is the swordsman, and Luffy is the leader. And something that was interesting is as they're leaving Orange Town, Luffy of course leaves behind half of the treasure, which Nami almost drowns him over. But it shows that Luffy prioritizes relationships and having an impact way more than he actually prioritizes treasure. Next up was the Syrup Village arc, where of course we come across Usopp for the first time. Now Usopp is a compulsive liar, he is the boy who cried wolf, or in this case pirate, and to be honest he was a little annoying at the start, the fact that he kept lying about just random things. But then there are moments where you realize just how caring of a person he is, despite the fact that he feels the need to lie all the time. He's able to use his lies to cheer up Kaya, even though he's lying, she knows he's lying, everyone kind of knows he's lying, even his crew members, the little kids, know he's lying. Even in the flashback where you see his mother is unfortunately dying, he lies to try and cheer her up and saying pirates have returned, basically that his father has returned. And one thing about One Piece that I keep learning is these characters are way more complex than what initially meets the eye. But I found Usopp to be a very interesting character. He has a lot of visible flaws. He lies all the time. He's not very confident. He's not particularly strong either, but he is smart and he is pretty crafty, so he's able to use his surroundings and different equipment to overcome stronger opponents. One of the things I found very interesting was the fact that Luffy actually knew Usopp's dad, and then he happens to turn up on Usopp's island kind of by accident. It's almost this idea in the world of One Piece that destiny itself is guiding Luffy to his goal, and I know to an extent that's the case with all main characters, but it really feels like the world itself wants Luffy to become king of the pirates. But of course it's revealed that there's this evil Captain Kuro who's trying to take Kaya's possessions, and I love the fact that the group, without much hesitation, decides, you know what, we're gonna stay, we're gonna defend Kaya, we're gonna defend this village, despite the fact that they really should be concerned more about their actual goal. But I love the fact that they care about the people that they come across. And when the two groups do begin to fight, there is a real struggle. This is not one of those cases where one group is just way overpowered. Also, one of the things mixed in all throughout these One Piece episodes is a lot of humor, like Luffy being way too brutally honest about stuff, or Luffy running in the wrong direction, or something like that. There's a point during this fight where Luffy gets really upset with Captain Kuro, and it's only when Kuro turns on his own men, because Luffy truly believes in what pirates can be and the effect that they could have on the world. And he sees someone like Kuro who turns on his own men, who has no loyalty, as one of the worst aspects of what pirates are. These two are very diametrically opposed when it comes to pirates. Eventually, they're able to defeat the pirates, save Kaya, and she gives them a ship. And I just remember this moment where Usopp ends up joining the crew, they have this ship, and I just felt very proud of Luffy, seeing in a relatively short amount of time how he's able to go from being stuck in a barrel to the point where he's gathered a small crew and now he has a ship. I just remember being very happy with this moment. Well, that concludes my thoughts on these first 3 arcs of One Piece. Overall, really enjoyed them, definitely piqued my interest, introduced me to the world of One Piece. I will say that although these piqued my interest, it's the next arcs that absolutely sold me on this series. If you want to see my thoughts on those arcs, they should be releasing soon, so please like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out. And feel free to share your thoughts on this video, but try to remain spoiler free because I really don't want things to get spoiled. But I am so glad I started watching One Piece, just a truly incredible series, which from what I see has only gotten better and better. But thank you for watching.